I think I would lose my mind. Rainbow7 on the blue side, Gambit on the red. We're going to get through the first ban phase, and Nivea. Yeah, no real surprises there.
Yeah, I got to ban it against Kira. Kira versus Seiya. This is such a great matchup here between these two, regarded as pretty much the kings of their region in the mid lane. Kira, back-to-back MVPs for himself. Seiya, 10 titles to his name.
Not just the kings of their region, but I think you can say that Kira is probably the best player ever to come out of the LCL, out of the Russian league, and Seiya is probably the best player to ever come out of the CLS. These are probably the best two players that have ever been created in their regions as well. So a massive rivalry in that mid lane. Ezreal ban, Azir ban, Swain ban, Rakan ban. Nothing too surprising as of yet. Maybe the Ezreal a little bit odd from Gambit.
I like the Rakan ban here if you're not going to first pick it, but now it looks like Caitlyn jumps up in priority very highly. Ezreal, Kai'Sa off the table. There's no Rakan to first pick here, and then there's no Xayah to pair with it, so you don't have to worry about that too much.
Have to see maybe the Caitlyn pick here for the LLM team. Rainbow7 did call them the CLS team. I'm just too used to casting Chaos Latin Gamers now. 2 games in a row got me slightly confused, but the North Latin America team, Rainbow7. It's going to be the Caitlyn lock-in straight away for them. Karma picked up by Gambit alongside the Jhin for Lodic here.
Yeah, the Karma, a flex pick, can be played in the mid lane, very commonly played in the mid lane on the patches, most recent 8.7, 8.8, but can be flexed the bottom side for Edward. But he's been favoring those playmakers. He's really been feeling it so far. But the Jhin is the one that I have questions about, because you can't build Rage Blade. It's actually just banned straight up. You cannot build it here at this tournament because it's just got too many interactions where it just stacks the AD too high. And so Jhin, you're going to have to go for more of a crit build, potentially lethality, but it doesn't provide as much as, say, like a Varus would. So we'll see what he's able to do with the lockdown, and the utility is kind of what makes him shine.
Especially against the strength of something like a Caitlyn Morgana lane, that Jhin, if you get caught out, trap's going to come underneath you, you're not really going to be able to escape at all. It's very dangerous for him.
Yeah, Caitlyn Morgana kind of emerged as the counter to Xayah Rakan, and then people just realized, oh, this is just a really oppressive lane in general, and you can play it into almost anything. So it's kind of that combo that's risen up as that S tier, especially when they're together.
Well, we did have the Trundle locked in for Oddie in the jungle, and Kira got the Ornn for Stales in the top lane, you would assume. They're banning out top laners as well. Camille removed by Gambit Esports, and the Vlad taken away by Rainbow7.
Yeah, kind of hiding those mid lane bans, mid lane picks until later for both teams, making sure that Seiya or Kira have the upper hand in their matchups.
Kira up until now has played the Azir and has played the Cassiopeia. Azir probably the better of his 2 performances.
Yeah, he's 7-0 on Azir so far this year, and so they banned it away from him. And both teams threw a ban at the mid lane there with their kind of their most played, their signature champion so far in this year.
And now we'll get to the final ban from Rainbow7. Could continue to focus on that mid lane. Could also try and remove a jungler perhaps from the pool of Diamond procs. Is going to be the Rise, so lots of mid lane bans coming out here. Probably falling down to that second tier. And it's Nocturne picked up by Gambit.
And you can see Lodic. Yeah, he's the one who locked it in for him. That was so fast. Nocturne has pretty much got chain buffed. I was asking people backstage before the game started that I thought we'd see Nocturne today. We've gotten like increased damage on his R, increased damage on his Q. The fact that the ultimate now lasts longer so you can mask teleports or have people not be able to TP in during that time. And we're seeing it here because like he got compensated for Duskblade being nerfed, but you never built Duskblade in competitive anyway. So I really want to see what Diamond Procs is able to do.
Living with Vedius as well, he is a big Nocturne
He's Nocturne
fan.
mid,
He likes to play Nocturne mid. It's not going to happen in this game. If it does, I'm going to be...
If it does, Vedius can come up here and kick me off.
That would, he can kick me off.
He can,
in all honesty, if Nocturne mid's being played, he can cast the entire game by himself. It's a Karthus! That's a Karthus lock here for Kira in the mid lane as well. Sion and Orianna were picked by Rainbow7, but very fast second pick phase by Gambit Esports.
Yeah, they're just rolling with the punches. They're just saying, all right, this is what we want. This is what we want. Boom. Nocturne locked in for them. Karthus locked in for them. Karthus also got some buffs to his Q, his lay waste. Makes it so that he's able to just deal more damage throughout all parts of the game. I really want to see what he runs in terms of his Keystone. Because I've seen Predator Karthus, where you Predator and then ulti, and it does a lot of extra damage. So
I can see that working. I could see how that would work. That would be incredible. Yes, I want you to talk to me about this team composition coming out from Gambit, because having something like a Karthus and a Nocturne come in, things that we don't see regularly, really changes up the game plan for them. What are they actually aiming to do here, Zyron?
So it's a lot of semi-globals. You have the TP from the top lane, you have the Nocturne ultimate, and then you also have the Karthus that can contribute from being anywhere on the map with his global. So bottom lane focus onto White Lotus and to Genthix might be the name of the game here, trying to make sure that you have this Jhin that can lock people down, but dives will be big. If you can get them low enough for the Karthus to finish them off, there's not really much they can do about it. And so you're looking to focus a lane in particular. I don't know which one, but that's also something that Rainbow7 have to keep in mind. They don't know exactly what's going to get focused here, because if they find an opening on the side of Gambit, they can really go anywhere once they get those flashes.
I have to see Rainbow7 a much more traditional team composition. You've got your front line, you've got your back line, you've got your damage dealers. We are going to get onto the Summoner's Rift for the final game of day one here at MSI.
And what I love here is, like you said, standard composition, but it kind of protect the flower, protect White Lotus, preserve him, make sure that he doesn't get touched here. You have the Black Shield from the Morgana. You have the Orianna Ball from Seiya. This is pretty much what you're looking for. I usually see Caitlyn with like one of these guys. Both of them just means that he has that extra protection where you Black Shield him, you give him the Ori Shield, he walks up to turrets when there's no minion wave and just starts shooting it so he can get some extra damage on it. Becomes very White Lotus based here from Rainbow7. So Gambit, I assume that they're going to try to shut that down, because that's the big win condition here from Rainbow7.
Rainbow7 were trying to sneak something in towards that bottom lane as well, with Giral coming across, but he is just going to go back and work his way up towards the top lane. Seiya should have time to back and get back into the lane as well here, so no real concerns for him apart from the gold that Edward earned off the empowered Q.
Yeah, and ooh, okay, so something I want to talk about here is some of the rune choices that we have. So Diamond Prox went for attack speed based precision instead of electrocute. So he's looking for press the attack for later on in fights. One of the great things about press the attack is if you are able to get tanky on like a Trundle or a Nocturne, you're actually contributing something to the team fight beyond, just some damage. You're able to actually increase everybody else's damage to that tank target and help everybody else shred them. But another thing I really like here is Cura has precision secondary. Helps you auto-attack a little bit, but the big thing is we changed presence of mind. It's no longer the free mana every time you level up or get a takedown. It's now if you kill somebody, you get 10% off your ulti cooldown, which is exactly what you want as Karthus. You kill somebody, you get to ulti more often.
Yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense. Like, Kira did try and steal away a Razorbeak there. They recess on him, so he wasn't able to get it. That's why my hands went to my head, Zyrene. It wasn't that your point was so shocking to me.
I like to think that was the reason.
Yeah.
You could have just let me live in my ignorance.
In the future, that will be what I do. But we see the first binding into the trap, into the damage. Edward has to flash and the heal used by Lodic. We talked about that. We talked about the CC chain. That's exactly what White Lotus and Genthix want to do in this bottom lane.
Yeah, it's just an impressive lane. The Morgana Caitlyn is so impressive. And now we're going to have the Nocturne on the bottom side of the map. But look at that, Audi already going into the jungle. He is kind of the living ward right now.
Diamond Prox was able to get it the pillar on the wrong side as well. So Audi unable to get anything out of that invade. Can try and secure the Scuttle Cup for himself. He knows that Diamond Prox is low on mana.
Yeah, he does get protection though for his bottom lane. So it's kind of, he walks up, he'll ward it, make sure that Nocturne is on this side and track him so that you can be up this far in this lane. Audi's going to harass Diamond Prox here.
Not quite get to the Blaskin. Diamond Prox tries to turn it around with fear. Audi flees away in terror. Kira the first one to react as well. And Audi has the flash, but the exhaust comes out. Diamond Prox with the flash of his own. Burst blood to Kira and the double buffs as well.
Exactly, the double buffs go over to him. So now he's going to have that blue, and he can just keep spamming over and over again. Throw the Skittles out.
Taste the rainbow, Rainbow7. That's what he's saying. He's like, Seiya, it's in the name. Taste the rainbow. Take all of those Skittles to your face. It's so helpful for the Karthus in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Seiya pretty much has no mana now, so he's actually going to get a really bad back timer where Kira might be able to back here. I wonder what he'll go for. Potentially the tier. He doesn't want the lane frozen on him, so nice damage.
Just pushing Seiya back a little bit more. Does have the minion dematerializer, so we'll try and clear out that wave, but do we see Kira back early here? Because he went exhausted, didn't go teleport on the Karthus, so can't get back into the lane easily.
Yeah, no, Kira's going to stay because Seiya doesn't have mana to actually clear this next wave. So he's going to get this cannon minion. Adi's actually here to kind of stop this.
No flash. There's the pillar as well. Seiya uses the heal very early on. Kira tries to turn it back around. The flash comes out from Seiya. Odi gets the kill. And should be able to dodge the Skittles! Delicious, delicious death in the mid lane.
Oh, so the buffs went back over to Adi, and then Kira just said, nobody gets these buffs. Buffs or no?
No buffs for you. That Karthus pick has just really upset the apple cart here for Rainbow7. Some inventiveness from Gambit esports, something that's put them to that 2-0 position in this group.
Yeah, the inventiveness, the fact that they're able to kind of pull out these picks and say, hey, we're coming into a tournament where a lot has been hidden for 2 patches. You've been practicing these things behind closed doors. You can get that X factor going for you. And Kira able to kill Adi here, who wanted to just sidestep it, but he actually stays inside of the range for a little longer because of the sidestep. He's trying to get cute there. You can see this has been their performance today. Kira's turning this around. This looks like Seiya has just been crushing, but Gambit are the ones that are 2-0, and Kira, low percent of his team's damage because Lodic popped off, and Stejos played a GP game. But right now, he's got the 2-1 on this Karthus. And that throws off a lot of your internal kind of timers for, oh, he's going to hit level 6 at this point. He's going to do X amount of damage. So if he starts getting items a little bit faster because these kills, it really does kind of make it so he hits those break points with his ulti where he can just actually just obliterate a team.
It's the influence on the rest of the map as well, isn't it? He's already got to level 6. If Diamond Prox can get to level 6 soon as well, get Lodic up towards that as well, you've got the combination of the curtain call into the paranoia, into the ult.
Yeah, and I said they could pretty much go anywhere. Seiya doesn't have flash right now. He's kind of the prime target to go for, is to crack open mid lane to then crack open bottom lane. So once Diamond Prox hits 6, which will be 1 or 2 more camps here, he'll be able to actually use that paranoia and go straight forth. One of the people who doesn't have flash.
So although they've had a strong early push in this bottom lane, White Lotus and Genthix aren't actually that far ahead of Lodic and Edward. You look at it, it's a CS difference of about 6-7 CS. The wave's coming in, so it'll probably end up being about that 10 mark. But the question is when they can really take this bot lane tower, because it's getting to the point where if they go too aggressive for the tower, you're going to be met by a paranoia, by a teleport, by the Requiem coming out from Karthus as well. So you need to speed up that bot lane a little bit if you really want to take advantage as Rainbow7.
Yeah, it changes a lot of your ward patterns too, because normally in that situation, you would say, okay, let's protect bottom, let's go ward up the enemy blue buff, some of those exits, but the Nocturne can actually just lane gank. So, like you said, it's very difficult once it gets to that point, and you have to start tracking the Nocturne by fighting him. And right now, he's keying off of the mid lane where he has an advantage.
Good pillar there from Odi to stop them in their tracks. He's been consistently aggressive. We saw it in the game against Chaos Lassen Gamers. Sometimes it does come back to bite him, so he needs to be a little bit careful as to how far he pushes forward.
Yeah, there's such a thing as too aggressive, and we definitely saw it from Odi earlier today. But he's 1-2. He really has to kind of get that in check, because he's somebody that we've looked to on Rainbow7 as one of the people who really gets the team going, who gets White Lotus and Seiya going. And it just hasn't been his day so far.
So Seiya has gone back, picked himself up the tier, should be helpful with those mana issues he was having in the mid lane, starting to scale up just a little bit. You've got White Lotus only on a BF sword at the moment, but no actual AD coming out from Lodic at all. He's got the Boots of Swiftness, the Dagger, and the Brawler's Glove as well for a bit of crit, but not actually got that much damage under his belt.
Yeah, a lot of Jins just start Boots and then 3 potions, and then they go ahead and they get themselves, 4 potions, and then they go ahead and they run really quickly, then they get themselves Swifty's first items so that they can hit you with the 3 shots, and then the 4th shot is like basically you're getting extra AD with the automatic crit. Hold on,
Shockwave into knock-up here from Dural, and Kira. That's what you have to do to shut down a mid laner who's ahead. Great roam down from Dural, the leader of the team, coming up big for Rainbow7.
Yeah, Dural actually came down after he got the shove. He kind of was just spotted out in vision, and Kira just didn't respect it. His flash was down for about 5 seconds when that started, so it looked like it was up, but it wasn't just quite.
Here's the lane camp Q. We're talking about those Irene. White Lotus and Genthix are going to play safe. Level 6 on White Lotus. No 6 yet on Genthix, but he does have the flash and the exhaust up. Oh. Edward steps forward.
Oh, the Black Shield used!
And around the Black Shield's already been used, as you say. Here comes the curtain call. Requiem as well. Paranoia not in range. Whee! Out of sight, here he goes. Right onto the back line. Genthix goes down. Diamond Prox gets away. And Gambit execute their bot lane dive.
Yep, they end up getting that kill. It's not onto White Lotus, but they get Genthix, who wasn't able to flash there. And still just Ended up getting blown up by that fourth shot there from Lodic. That is such a scary combo where it's just a lot of effective range. The Nocturne ultimate comes out, and then you have the curtain call, which is you're blind, right? Normally you can see it coming and dodge it, but at that point, you're just dancing, hoping you don't get hit.
Dancing in the dark. Gantix was unable to dodge it, and it gives Gambit that extra kill. Only a 400 gold lead for them, though. Across the board, it's still pretty even in terms of laning stats and kills. The Ocean Drake going over to Gambit would be very strong for them, especially for the Karthus in the mid lane, for the extra mana regeneration that can help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. You really want that, especially since it's not going for tier or anything like that. He has the Lost Chapter instead. We'll see this one more time. It looks like Diamond Prox actually has to get in range, too, because like the level 6 Nocturne, it takes a while. He's like, I gotta get in range, gotta get in range, gotta get in range. Needs vision, and then he gets vision off of the ultimate there. So if they had just backed up and none of those shots from Lodic had landed, I don't think he'd be able to ultimate because he couldn't see them.
It's true. Part of it as well as you talked about in Pick and Ban, the ability to deny teleports in as well, stopping Dural from being able to join the back of that fight and maybe somehow turning it around by holding on to the paranoia before you activate the second part of it.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to be a little critical here. I thought that was actually Gentik's fault because he had black shielded before anything really needed to be black shielded. So when you do that, that is basically the tool that the enemies are waiting for to be on cooldown. That's when they pounce. So whichever person he had used black shield on, the other one just becomes the target. You have to do it reactively. You cannot do it preemptively against teams when they're looking for a gank.
And maybe part of that is a bit of apprehension from the Rainbow7 bottom lane. You know, losing to KLG would definitely have set them back mentally. You always have to wonder whether, when you get to the third game of the day and it hasn't quite gone your way, you're able to react in the same way you would if you were on a high momentum swing. But they're still pretty even in this game. You can't count them out at all. Gambit are the ones making the plays, but still, CS even in the mid lane, even in the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, I was just looking at the CS, and I can't remember the last time that I saw top lane tanks having the same CS as their mid laners at this point in the game, or even just more. Like everybody's at that 100. Everybody's getting the cash this game.
And Dural has been like roaming around the map as well. Made that gank mid, now going down towards the bottom lane as well. Flash away from Edward, but the chase is on. The ace comes down. Edward not in a good spot at all. Eventually will fall to White Lotus. And R7 put their third kill on the map.
That's 4 people down in the bottom lane. They're going to try to force this turret down. You talked about it where it becomes harder to get this turret once the Nocturne has the ultimate. And this turret was already half HP.
Oh, they're just diving straight on towards that backline. Requiem not enough though, and Diamond Prox falls. Teleport coming in, and the Ornn cancelled straight away, but they keep the turret alive for the moment.
Yeah, just for the moment though. They're going to start backing right up to this turret. They had to wait for another minion wave, and it'll be about 15 seconds. So that's actually going to save it because they don't want to stick around for that long.
Makes sense, but you can see that Diamond Prox can dive onto the backline, but when we get to coordinated team fights, that does not work as well. He's going to be collapsed upon. He's going to be dived on by the rest of R7.
Yeah, that's he can do it, but should he do it?
This is why Vedius is not a good Nocturne mid player, because he does it all the time. And he's like, why am I plat 4 and you're high diamond? I'm like, because you're bad at the game. Anyway, let's focus on the game itself.
No, I'd like to hear more about this. Like,
I think we should look at Rainbow7 versus Gambit. I shouldn't blame him unless I'm casting with him, really.
No, he can't defend himself. That's the best time.
That's true. That's true. Rainbow7, 1,000 gold ahead here. 13 minutes into the game, but it's still very even between the two of them. Rapid Fire Cannon now finished on Lodic. Still no first item on White Lotus.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's going to go for the full completed Infinity Edge first. Some Caitlyn's do that because of the multiplier from your headshot is based off of having increased crit damage. So you do even more with it, but we'll see. A lot of people go for the Zeal, the Static Shiv first, but with the Rapid Fire Cannon completed from Lodic, this gives him a lot of mobility and a lot of range.
Thought he was going to face check into Oddie there, but able just to lay down the trap and get himself away.
Yeah, I love the Swifty boots from him and then going immediately for the Rapid Fire Cannon. He doesn't have like extra AD, but he has a lot of ways to get his 4th shot off, and he also has a lot of ways to just dodge Morgana Binding, which is the thing that's going to kill you.
That ability just to relocate and position in the fights is something that...
it's invaluable, honestly.
Yeah, and it's something Lodic was praised for. It's one of the reasons he actually became part of the team, why he replaced Blasting, was because he was a little bit safer, he was better at positioning in team fights, and he wasn't this 100% or 0%
yeah, less variance to him. Very consistent in what he's going to bring to a team.
Looks like Diamond's trying to set up down towards this bottom lane once again, but unable to do it.
I love this from Kira. He has the 2 penetration items that he needs, the Oblivion Orb and the Spell Pin Boots. AP not as effective on Karthus, so once you have a lot of penetration, that's really when your ultimate is going to hit the hardest.
Makes a lot of sense. Expect to see him build up towards some of that AP as the game progresses, even though Rabadon's Death Cap would help him out.
Yeah, for example, right now, he has 33 magic penetration. White Lotus has 33 MR. Genthix has 32 MR.
True damage.
32 MR for Seiya when his ball isn't on him. So he's basically doing true damage to 3 people on the team.
And if they can coordinate that with the Paranoia, with even the Call of the Forge God coming out from Stales, it just gives you this chain of damage, chain of CC. Shockwave used, Exhaust comes out as well. Kira didn't have the vision around to know where Odi was, so had to use the Summoner.
Man, I love this from Giral. He used the Banner of Command mid, so now that's pushing in Kira, and Kira has to kind of try to CS this under the turret. Diamond Prox, though, down bottom, looking for another play.
Has now been spotted out. There's the Requiem. The damage onto Lotus is devastating. However, they do get Edward in response. 4th shot's going to come out here. Genthix dodges to the side, but Diamond Prox had the smite down and is able to capitalize.
Yeah, they use the Black Shield again. It gets taken off immediately by Edward using a Mantra Q, and then they just dive. And right now, it's just jamming this combination down the throats of Rainbow7. The Jhin plus the Nocturne constantly just going for these dives, and it's working out so far.
It is, but it's not actually putting Rainbow7 too far behind. We'll have a look at exactly the state of the game after this.
Yeah, but the big thing is White Lotus is the team composition right now. He has the Morgana and the Orianna almost solely to protect him. Then they have the front line of the Scion, and the Trundle's supposed to just whittle down the front line of Gambit. So this is a very White Lotus-focused composition where they should be winning the bottom lane. They didn't crack the bottom tier 1 turret. They can't get out of this matchup just yet, and now they have to keep kind of suffering through it.
Odi flashed away here. Call of Fortune's going to come out as well, knock him up. There's another kill for Gambit. Odi just way too overextended in the Gambit jungle. You talked about the Protect the Flower composition. Well, White Lotus now has the first Thorn on that flower, Infinity Edge completed, but he is behind Logic, as you said, in terms of pure itemization.
Yeah, but he's going to get this turret. Oh, they're making him pick turret
or Steos. And Steos wins out for the moment. Paranoia comes out as well. Long range. Captive Audience will catch him out. White Lotus there as well. The flash. Genthix down to the Requiem. Goodbye! Steos actually steals the kill in the end. Diamond.
Oh!
Keeps him alive. Perfect dive from Gambit.
And I thought that was going to be, hey, let's give it over to Kira. Because they didn't finish him off, they take more turret shots, they get bound, and then he ends up dying. But no, the heal comes through. They get first turret. Gambit off to a fantastic start.
And that's what they've been building towards, getting their first tower, a 2,000 gold lead as well. Yes, Giral is trying to answer it in the top lane, but they get their second Ocean as well off the back of this. Gambit, so many objectives, a domino effect just from continuously ganking White Lotus and Genthix.
And we had talked about it at the start. When you asked me about the compositions, what is Gambit going to try to do? They could go anywhere, but the bottom lane is the big juicy point that they really want to shut down. They still haven't lost their bottom tier 1 turret because of all the pressure they've been putting on this S-tier matchup of the Caitlyn Morgana, which should be winning, which should be getting that turret first, and they're just reversing it. And that is so well played from Gambit. And I gotta say, Diamond Prox, he came in here and he was not looking good. Statistics-wise, he was one of the worst junglers in their region. He had very low jungle proximity. The team was winning kind of without him, and now he's being a huge contributor to them right now. He's got a large amount of that kill participation. He had the lowest KP out of all the junglers in the LCL. And now he's coming in and he's showing us, hey, this isn't going to be like Worlds 2017 in those play-ins where Gambit went 0-4.
7 out of 8 kills he has been involved in. The ability just to be spotted on the map, to be catching people out as well is so good from Diamond Prox at the moment.
And this has to be redemption for him because he was the person that came into Worlds 2017. It was like, oh, it's the legacy of Diamond Prox and Edward. And then it was kind of the reality of, hey, Diamond Prox is no longer that superstar jungler from before, a hard pill to swallow for his fans. But here is something that they can be proud of. Diamond Prox is in full effect here in this game.
And I think it's redemption for the entirety of Gambit as well. Like, you look across this team, you've got Steos and Kira, who are on Albus Nox in 2015. You've got Diamond Prox and Edward, who are on Gambit and Moscow 5 and have this long-term legacy as a team. And last year at Worlds, they just didn't step up to the plate. Here, they're looking to go 3-0 in their group. They're looking to make it into the knockout stage and then hopefully to groups as well. And
they've only made one change. They've only made one change. Lodit coming in as a rookie who's still attending university simultaneously to play here. This is his first competitive split, his first competitive season, and honestly, one of the first of kind of handfuls of his competitive games. And being on the stage, international stage that early, is very daunting, but he is playing incredibly well, up against somebody like White Lotus and Rainbow7.
And matching up into one of the AD carries that is renowned the world over for being an incredible carry.
Man, I just looked at the builds, and I have to put an addendum to something. I said, you didn't even go Duskblade on Nocturne anyway.
You do if you're 2-1-5.
Apparently you do. So I guess Diamond Prox is just looking for the full-on, just kill White Lotus. Black Shield doesn't do anything against this physical damage. Just tries to burst him, so it'll continue a snowball if they keep the pressure up. If you wait and allow them to like build up resistances and get some items, then it's going to be less effective. But for now, if your goal is to just kill White Lotus, you have to keep doing that. Ultimate on cooldown, cycle it. Use those globals. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I just looked at it. I was like, the penetration items are through for Kira. He also has a Luden's Echo.
Yep.
So it's just all about, hey, you dive in, everybody just presses their R at the same time and tries to blow up one or two people.
Luden's and the Morello finish now as well, so he's in a very good spot on that Karthus in the mid lane. I think White Lotus, we talk about how you have to protect the flower. I think if he gets dived on, he's going to last about as long as a plant in university accommodation. They tend to die pretty quickly. You get to water them. I had one that I watered for a year. Turned out it was plastic.
What?
I actually watered a plant in my accommodation for a year, thinking it was real. I was like, I'm keeping it alive.
I was walking through IKEA the other day because I had recently moved, and my friends were like, oh, these plants look so real. And I was like, it's because they are real. It's like, they expected plastic at that point. So
I guess that makes
it's completely opposite.
Just reversed. Roles reversed. I don't feel as foolish now. I'm sure Rainbow7 feel pretty foolish as they have fallen to Gambit thus far, but still only 1,500 gold behind, remember. If they can get to the late game, if they can get to a point where White Lotus is sitting on 2-3 items, they are still in a very strong spot.
Yeah, and if they can kind of protect White Lotus in the later parts of the game and just stop giving things up right now, then they're going to be in a great spot, like you said.
But they have lost that bot lane tower. You can see Kira's moved up towards the top lane now to try and continue to push that in against Saya, who is answering him.
And I think that's better for Gambit, because Kira can still be effective on the map with his ultimate, whereas Saya is pretty much just on wave clear duty. This is just hope the rest of the map goes your way, or you can just try to get a sneaky kind of rotation in there.
And once again, Diamondbox is waiting around the mid lane. He is waiting in the wings for the opportune moment to strike. They have a pink ward in that bush, which means he's not spotted out. Odie is waiting there as well. He's aware that Diamondbox wants to be near this mid lane. And it feels like you're just waiting for the next time they pull the trigger. The next time they're willing to all press R at the same time.
But then for White Lotus and for Rainbow7, it's trying to deny that opportunity, or a good-looking opportunity. But they just use the Rift Herald, so a push is coming here, where Rainbow7 will walk past that mid lane point. There it is.
Slightly Diamondbox. There's the Requiem as well. They're all in darkness, and Diamondbox doesn't even go in.
Ooh.
Just accepts that the darkness comes out. Tower falls to the Rift Herald as well.
Yeah, I was like, if he went on White Lotus there, I'm pretty sure he kills it. Rank 2 ultimate, Duskblade, but doesn't want to risk it at all, because you can flash away from it.
You can, and you've got the heal, and you've got the exhaust on Genthix as well, something that does shut down those assassins if they get exhausted on their way. Kira was making his way down, but with the mid lane tower down now, Gambit willing just to recess and wait for that next rotation of ultimates. They're not on the longest timers, but it's long enough that R7, if they can get away from them without losing a player, they're very happy.
Yep, bottom turret's going to go down, so that's actually Rainbow7, 3 turrets to 1 off of the rotations that they've been making. So they have all those outer turrets down. They have more map pressure now. But it's just that's the thing, when you have a lot of map pressure, but you're not really ahead, it kind of sucks, because it means that in order to get more of an advantage, you have to push up to a point where you don't have safety behind you. And so the Nocturne will just ulti, go after the Caitlyn, and right there you saw he didn't go because the tier 1 turret's there. If they're pushing up to the tier 2 of the enemies, he has a long way to go before safety is right there. So you expose yourself, you have to expose yourself more to get more of an advantage when you're at this point as Rainbow7.
I think the only good thing for Rainbow7 in that is you kind of know when the enemy has the opportunity to counter, to make the play, because it's like they haven't got ults. They haven't got ults, so it's fine. Just wait for them to burn them, and then you walk forward and you get that deep vision. But as you say, it is very tough.
Or you can do kind of what Gambit did, where they were like, hey, this bottom turret, it's so defenseless. It's got like 300 HP. Why don't you come get it, White Lotus? TP comes through. Everything comes through. You got to make it look juicy. You got to bait them into these fights that are actually bad for them. Use objectives as bait. So you expect Rainbow7 to, if they want to get back in this game, to start using things like Baron and the trap lines to do that, but also make it so that there's situations where White Lotus can get away with summoners and you bait like Diamond Procs to overcommit.
That's true. We haven't seen Gambit really fall for those traps yet at MSI. We are only 3 games in for them as well, so you have to give them some time to make mistakes, I'm sure. Especially against Rainbow7, who are seen as perhaps the second strongest team in the group, although maybe Chaos Latin Gamers is now challenging to take away that spot.
Well, they came in as, the obvious first for a lot of people. The Gambit are here surprising because they went 0-4 with the same lineup minus 1 person, and Rainbow7 had gone 2-2 back as Lion Gaming, almost took down WE, and they played pretty good set against Cloud9. It's like, you would expect that team to flourish, but look at this. Diamond Procs.
We're talking about has to pop the Paranoia. Doesn't really have a way out of here, but Lodik is on his way down as well. There's the flash. It was just a control. That was the trap for Diamond Procs.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that you can control these areas and then have him be in those situations. But now he has no flash. So when he commits to his ultimate, he's committed. He can't get out at that point. And that just means that Diamond Procs may actually play defensively for the next 5 minutes before his flash is back up. But as Gambit, you don't want to see that because you've had your foot on the gas pedal, and Rainbow7 have gotten turrets under your nose, and now White Lotus is hitting some item spikes where he's not as far behind as he was before, and you can't keep shutting him down because now they just keep grouping. So it's actually really good for Rainbow7 to make sure that the pace of the game slows down so they can keep scaling.
You've already got 2 items finished on towards White Lotus. It's got a Vampiric Scepter as well, so maybe a BF sword, a Bloodthirster next.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. That extra shield against the Nocturne would definitely help him out as well.
Yeah, it's really good also against the Karthus.
Helps against Steos as well, who is not as tanky as he would like to be. White Lotus going in for this, but the Blast Cone gets him out. Red buff from White Lotus will slow down Steos. There's the ace in the hole as well. It's not going to be enough to eat through the hide of a Forged God.
Yep. Still gets the flash, though. Another important summoner spell, which means that Gambit will once again continue to play more defensive because they don't have those spells to commit.
And it's kind of offsetting the timers for Gambit as well. If they have all of these things up at the same time, they know they can say go, but if the Paranoia's down when the Requiem's up, or the Flash is down when all the ults are up, then you can delay them from making that optimal engage.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you pointed that out because a lot of the times it's kind of, it happens with back timers where it's like, I need to back because I have 300 gold to this item. It's like, all right, you catch the wave, you back, and then as soon as you get back out on the field, somebody's like, I'm 100 gold for this item. It's like you never get to fight. That's kind of what's happening with the summoner spells and the abilities here.
Paranoia coming out though, there's the Requiem, and it's all combining for them. Look at that backline get shredded. Genthix goes low, Seiya goes golden as well, but Kira's here for the fight. Teleport coming in. Look at the wall of pain. The curtain call comes out as well. Great shockwave from Seiya, but Seiya is the first to fall now in the midst of it all. Jural not in good shape at all. Gonna get taken very low. It manages to escape for the moment, but Lodik is having none of that. Flash forward, get the kill, and Gambit get 2.
Gambit popping off right now, and that might be the Baron if they really want to commit to it. They have the tanks, they have the damage. It's just Audi is up right now, but he has no flash to actually flash into the pit. Kira contribute damage over the wall with Qs.
And no real wards here for R7 either, so it would have to just be a pure face check from Audi.
And I don't think he can make it in there. You see that Edward is saying, nope, nothing to do with that. He finds Audi in the jungle.
Even ignites him.
He's dead.
Long range deadly flourish, great binding will slow him up, but Edward is just like, okay, AD carry can't get it, I'll take the kill instead, and they're going to push in towards this bottom lane now.
But that means Gambit, they're on the cusp of going 3-0. The team that went 0-4 back in the World's group stage up against Rainbow7 was in their group.
And Rainbow7 are on the cusp of going 1-2 after being the favorites in the group, falling behind their South Latin American counterparts in KLG, not where they would want to be. We have to remember there is another day of action for this group. Day 3, Saturday, they will play another round robin. So all of these teams have an opportunity to rise or fall still in the ranks. It's not decided today, but starting off 3-0 when you can only qualify after being top of your group would be absolutely sublime for Gambit Esports. They have a 6,000 gold lead, they've got Triple Dragon, they've got Baron. They're on a perfect spot to start closing out this game.
Yeah, and they have such a level advantage as well. Lodic is a level and a half up over White Lotus, but the big thing here is White Lotus sitting around with 36 magic resistance. There's 33 magic pen for Kira, but his ultimate does 950 damage right now, and White Lotus has 1500 HP.
You can see it in this fight. Like, White Lotus and Seiya just get nuked.
Yeah, he does about half his HP, plus if you're going to factor in Luden's Echo on top of it, Kira just obliterates these fights by just pressing R. And you can see White Lotus has to play so far back for the whole part of the fight afterwards, and then Girol comes in, and then he just gets taken out. Look at that damage.
Monstrous from Kira and from Lodic, who, have to remember, he's still at university. He's just coming into this team as the rookie and is really stepping up, willing to make the aggressive plays when needed, willing to be defensive when needed as well. He's had good performances on both the Jhin and the Kai'Sa. Now they are looking just to close out this game. Minute and a half left on the Baron. They've got Diamondbox just roaming around this bottom side jungle, can join either fight if needed.
Yeah, you can see he's just kind of camping there, just waiting. Yeah, he even backs up. There's a ward in there. He does have sweeper, but it's just, is he gonna sweep it? No?
No, not yet. But now we actually see Ori come down towards this bottom lane. Maybe we'll see a bit more aggression from Gambit in the mid. Call of the Forge God comes out. There's Paranoia as well, just diving on towards Gambit and White Lotus. A double with the Requiem, and Gambit are absolutely shredding through Rainbow7. They have found a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it is looking mighty pretty for them.
And they're going to keep pushing up here. Kira's going to get that bottom side of the map. And man, that presence of mind. He got 3 procs of presence of mind there. The ultimate cooldown for that should have been 95 seconds. It went down to 40. He almost has his Karthus ultimate back up. 25 seconds on that.
That is absolutely disgusting. They're pushing in the mid lane for the inhibitor and bot at the same time. Inhib falls mid, Inhib will fall bot as well, and Gambit can just reset off this if they want. They don't need to close the game out yet, but if they catch Seiya, they can. Unable to get the final connection.
And as White Lotus and Girol respawn, Kira now has his ultimate pack up because of the presence of mind. And he was bottom lane that whole time. Got 2 kills, 1 assist, counts as a takedown. Now they're going to pick up this Ocean Drake, reset, get back out on the map, and they'll just go towards that top side of the map. And I think they'll just do it again. Just throw out the Karthus ultimate, chunk out White Lotus, who can't even sustain that much damage. It's also going to chunk out Genthix. And we'll see right here what happens. I got to watch these health bars. Knockup happens onto White Lotus. Gets shot once. Popped from half HP.
That is not pretty. I'm not sure we should be putting that on before 9 o'clock at night. It's, yeah, that is pretty disgusting for him.
Yeah.
3,000 damage in the last team fight, equaled by Lodic as well. He's doing a lot of work on the Jhin.
So he did 3,000 damage in the last team fight. He wasn't there. His ultimate does 1,000 damage right now when I mouse over it. And if he's doing true damage to Genthix and White Lotus, that's 2,000 right there. Factor in everybody else. He did more damage, almost as much damage as his AD carry without even being there. That's one ability.
That's a prime mid laner for anyone who wants to just split push. He's now got the Void Staff completed as well, so it's going to be even more penetration for him. There is a fiery edge of death for Lodic, upgraded that Infinity Edge.
I like that better than Molten Edge. Fiery Edge of Death.
I took inspiration from Molten Edge and I just twisted it around a little bit. 17,000 damage from Kira. It's just devastating for Rainbow7. They didn't have an answer for this last pick, Karthus. They haven't had an answer for the Nocturne either from Gambit.
But they tried to put all their eggs in the White Lotus basket here, and you can see he did the most damage on his team, or he's done about the same amount of damage as Lodic, but it's just the rest of the team is a little bit more utility-based for him. Everybody's behind. He's not as far ahead as he should have been in a Caitlyn Morgana matchup because of the way the Gambit played the early game.
No Ardent Center to facilitate him either. The Requiem comes out and Empire is reborn. Lodic gets the kill. The Curtain Call coming out from the long range as well. Genthix trying to dodge away to the side. Diamondbox sacrifices himself, but really all Gambit want is this inhibitor. Kira will join up with Lodic and the rest of the squad. They should be able to take this one down pretty easily. Staios is tanking it up. Girol trying to get him from the side.
This composition is literally 4 people pressed R at the same time. Kira's going in.
Kira flashes in onto White Lotus, does die in the end. No Requiem for him from beyond the grave, but they just want this inhibitor. Maybe Gambit are pushing a little bit too hard with this man disadvantage. Lodic not quite able to get the final shot, does get it in the end. The binary doesn't connect off towards the side. Lotus low, but he can push forward into this fight. Gambit realized they can't do too much more.
But that still buys time. Hold on, if they can. Ooh, there's
a turret there, Joel. Oh, he would not pass a driving test. Swerve straight into it.
Yeah, no drift in here for him. Not even a C-class driver's license. But anyway, down bottom side, they're going to have to clear out these waves. That actually, the fact that Kira committed so hard to that, doesn't have flash or exhaust for the next fight, means he's primed for a shockwave as a target. And Baron's about to come up in 30 seconds. So that actually gave Rainbow7 so much breathing room when they could have just taken it slow. Yeah, this is press R. There's 4 R buttons being pressed here. The Jin does it a little bit later. But that's just a huge commit there from Diamond Prox onto White Lotus in the backline. He's saying, I get your summoners now, so the next time I do this, I'll be able to kill you.
Yeah, but I think at this point, Gambit should just back away. Like, you're tanking the tower with your top laner. Yes, there are minion waves pushing in, but maybe just accept you can't go further.
Yeah, I think it's because he said White Lotus doesn't have flash or heal. No. I can exhaust him and kill him, but he's not able to reach him and deal enough damage there. But Gambit, looks like this is going to be an uncontested Baron.
This should be curtains as well for the game. Gambit with a Baron, 3 waves pushing in, double supers in the side waves. Kira can split push, Diamond can split push if he wants, Stales can split push if he wants. Should be an easy closeout of this game for them.
Yeah, you'd expect the closeout would come mostly from the Banner of Command plus the Baron. And there are no more dematerializers here on the side of Rainbow7. So if they can just walk those minions in, it'll be a way that Gambit can actually win. But I don't think they have cannons now. It's all supers.
Kind of screwed by the fact they took too many inhibitors.
Yeah, they
should have left one alive.
They were too good at taking structures.
Well, they can of course banner up a caster minion.
It's not the same. Wait, there's a cannon. Okay.
Now we're going to get the cannon up, because that means the inhibitor spawning back in the mid lane, but the cannon will help them push towards these Nexus towers. Gambit knocking on the door of 3-0 on day 1. There's the Requiem as well. White Lotus shielded up through it, only loses half of his health. There's the Call of the Vortex God as well. Call opens up, Diamond Prox on the backline, but he is caught out. White Lotus still alive in this fight, as is the Nexus tower, and Kira's up towards the side. Remember, the Shockwave is available here. It's going to catch out onto Kira. Stamos, Lodic, and Edward pushing onto the Nexus, though, alongside the super minions. This should be it for Gambit. Just need Lodic to auto-attack that Nexus. One more shot will do it, and Gambit go undefeated on day 1 here at MSI.
And Diamond Prox pops out of his seat, absolutely elated. This is redemption for him from the world's performance. The 0-4 that Gambit suffered, the fact that they dropped 2 games as well, 2 Lion Gaming, now 3-0 at the end of day 1, and that means that they start getting into the process of knocking teams out. They win 1 more. Ascension cannot make it out of the group. They win 2 more. It means Chaos Latin Gamers are going to be in a spot where they can't make it out. And Gambit now hold the momentum.
In such a strong position going into Saturday's games. Of course, we have a whole day of action before we even get there. Zyrene, Supermassive playing up tomorrow, one of the favorites for that group. But as we've shown today, a favorite doesn't remain a favorite for very long here at MSI. It's upsets galore. Every team is a champion, remember, and that means that every team can make the big plays on the day.
And Gambit, they're pulling out all the stops. They came here to play some League of Legends, and they're playing some damn good League of Legends. The Karthus, the focus on the bottom lane, the Nocturne.
It's the willingness to experiment. That's what I really like about them. The willingness to say, Lodic, look, you're part-time League of Legends pro. Play Kai'Sa, carry our team. Play Jin, stand at the back line, help out. And then you've got these veteran players who just have such a wealth of experience and a wealth of champion pool that basically you can bring out anything on the day.
And, I mean, calling Lodic a part-time League of Legends player, I think has like a bad connotation to it, right?
He's still at university.
Exactly.
I mean, yes.
He is a fantastic player. He didn't die in that game.
Yeah.
He set up a lot of Diamond Prox's ultimates with his W off of just getting a little bit of damage. And so he was able to play Jin where they had wrecked a Jin earlier in the day, and they trusted his utility, they trusted his positioning, and that was a Caitlyn Morgana lane. That's a lane that you should have no business winning. They should just be taking your turret at like 7 minutes, 9 minutes, and they were able to turn it around because they played as a team and they knew what their win condition was.
If you're sitting as Rainbow7 now, you're 1 and 2 on the day. You basically have to win every single game on day 3. Is there anything that you look at and you say they need to change this, they need to adapt here?
You have to kind of erase everything that you've done so far and just say, the fact that they lost to Chaos Latin Gamers, get it out of your head. It can't mentally affect you. The fact that they dropped here to Gambit, and this was one of the games that Rainbow7 came in, they won only one game against Ascension, and that wasn't even convincing. Rainbow7 have to kind of reevaluate the way that they're playing, and White Lotus does look a little bit rusty, but Seiya has amazing score lines. We're seeing him try to carry these games. Somebody else needs to step up as a secondary carry, and Audie's just not getting people as ahead in the early game as he was before. Too many risks that are backfiring.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Rainbow7 can bring it back in a couple of days, but for now, let's send it over to Pastry Time for an interview with the victorious jungler.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Diamond Prox of Gambit. Pretty amazing first day here at MSI. How are you feeling now that you've swept your first day?
I'm feeling much better than at Worlds, first of all. And I'm feeling great in general that everything that we prepared, like all the strategies that we showed yet, worked very well. Even though we didn't play like our best games, it still worked and we still won, even though our opponents actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, and I actually did talk to Edward earlier in the day, and he said that you had a lot of things prepared. You said you've played all these strategies before, but I think he hinted that there's maybe quite a lot more. Without spoiling too much, how many more different things can you guys possibly play? Because it feels like there's a lot of preparation that you guys have done for the event.
I think there's at least 10 more strategies to come, and one of them is like lane bully Brown. It has no counters at all. First pick lane bully Brown wins the game.
All right, and I mean, so far so good for you guys. You said that the quality of your opponents maybe was better than you were expecting. Kind of what were your expectations for the team? Obviously, you guys are doing well, but what made it harder than maybe you thought coming in?
To be honest, I expected Rainbow7 to be a little bit stronger than they were, but they still showed a very good game. But I expected other teams to be weaker, but they turned out to be on the level of Rainbow7, and that really wasn't expected by me, and it made the games interesting, at least for me.
Yep, and then still, of course, you've got a little bit more to go, but you are leading your group undefeated. First of all, do you think you can sweep and go 6-0, kind of moving in towards that best of 5?
I hope so.
And then thinking about that, as far as your preparation goes, now that teams have played against you, do you think that you'll be able to continue and finish first, or will you run into more hurdles when you have to play them again?
I think against some teams it's going to be a bit harder to play again. For example, KLG, against us, first game, they didn't feel that strong, but the games they played afterwards against other opponents, they showed to be really, really strong. And I expect some teams to be stronger on the next day of play, and some teams are probably going to be easier, but it all depends on how fast everyone adapts to the draft and to how everyone else plays.
Well, certainly a tough road ahead, but thank you for the interview and good luck in your future games. With that, though, we are going to throw it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. Fantastic to hear from Diamond. Gambit, fantastic start and another win that is now a 3-0. We're going to talk about that as well as about the other teams, and I'd like to welcome Tier Wolf from KLG to the desk. Hello, sir.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on a I would say pretty good day 1, 2-1 overall. What are the general feelings of how you played today?
We're happy, but at the same time we're sad because obviously dropping a game is bad, but we're just going to work harder and try to do our best.
Well, Diamond just touched on it, the fact that you guys maybe not were in form in that first game of the day, but you guys are developing as you go. So let's talk a bit about that final game, Gambit versus Rainbow7. Rainbow7, huge favorites at the beginning of the day, not so much at the ending of the day, but I want to start by praising Gambit for what they did, especially the fact that they threw out some new picks and bans.
Yeah.
We saw Nocturne, we saw Karthus. What did you think of Diamond's Nocturne?
I mean, I'd give it like an A. Hasn't quite hit that S tier for me yet because he's still running press the attack over the full execute, assassin, electrocute. But one of the great things about Nocturne is a lot of people underappreciate how many buffs he's had over the last couple of patches, and he can get a lot of AD if he's able to land that Duskbringer. That means he does a lot of damage in the early game, and he sets up beautifully for a lot of these ganks, especially in coordination with things like the Karthus, and just goes to show again the sort of depth of champions that Kira has that we talked about.
And that's the big thing, of course, with the patches that have been coming through, presence of mind, making it so you can get to these ganks, get these setups so frequently. I love to see it come through. I know we've been talking about the strategy that Gambit's been rolling out specifically for the tournament, and you really get to see it today.
Yeah, and Tearwolf.
Talking about the press the attack, though,
Tell me.
I think the reasoning is behind the fight versus Trundle. I feel like the only way you could beat him is if you spell shield the Q, and then with press the attack, you win the long fight. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think that's the reasoning behind. I feel like if you go with electrocute, you look for short trades, and Trundle won't let you get out with the pillar.
Completely agree.
This is exactly why we have pro players joining us on the
That's why I sit here.
Not in that seat. Overall, what did we think about Diamond? I mean, in the Worlds Plains, when Gambit went 0-4, he was definitely a guy that we expected a bit more from and didn't quite show up. It seems to be different this time around for Gambit. They seem to have found more synergy. They're also playing with that bottom lane with Loaded coming in, so it's looking good.
It's looking very good. I think the second game, specifically when he counter-ganked top lane, he had a really good feel of the map, and I think that's showcasing throughout the day.
And I mean, you can probably speak to it. It feels to me that Gambit have done a lot of prep coming into the tournament, and especially against you guys. I know you seem to be very bot-focused typically in your playstyle, and things like the Galio I felt made it pretty difficult for you.
Yeah, I feel like they prepared with the right mindset. I feel like they studied all the teams, looked at the best way to draft, the best way to play versus each team, and they probably prepared a lot of strategies. I feel like they came in with an intelligent mindset, and it's definitely showing.
And in this one, they beat out Rainbow7. Rainbow7 is now 1-2, and it's kind of the opposite of what we had expected of the LATAM teams coming out. Why do you think Rainbow7 hasn't found their synergy yet?
I just think that it's hard to compare regions when we're all in our little bubbles. It's hard to analyze and compare. I don't know. We're playing Latin American South. Maybe we have our own meta, our own play style. Maybe we trade objectives differently. It's hard to compare. You can't really compare, I don't know, a last team with an NA team or a LAN team. So when you get here and everybody plays each other, you have teams like could be the mini Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
That they have their own play style, which is good versus a team that's bad in early game, or maybe good versus a team that's, I don't know, bad at trading objectives. And maybe there's teams that are better at team fighting. I feel when you get here, you play the first day and you realize they're not actually bad. They play a different style, and we have to figure out what to do versus it.
And what's the key to your confidence? Because I remember specifically that game where you were pretty far behind, 2 kills behind, and then you kept going at White, or at least Audi. That was really strong from us. So, like, immediately, you even talked about it, that you were confident that you're going to get a 2-0 later on. So, like, what's your confidence coming into today?
I'm just confident in my play style, in my play, and my knowledge of the game. I'm also, you know, I trust my teammates a lot, so I know that all the invades I do, I'm going to have them following up and backing me up. So I don't know, I'm just really confident right now in knowing the matchups. I know that being 0-2, I could do a lot, and I could beat him 1v1. So I'm just trying to use my advantage as far as I can go.
Well, we definitely loved it, that game specifically, where he just kept running after Audi and the other way around. And I saw a bit of that rumored fandom out of Latin America who are very much cheering for the team if they're winning, but they are ruthless when the team is losing. And it seems like you really thrive on that. You just want to get the people going.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't beaten Latin America North since 2015, so it's definitely something good. I'm just glad to show that we've evolved and we're getting better constantly, and that today we could beat them. So it's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, we have to keep thinking about the fact that, yes, it's cool that you got that pride battle, but it is all about that prize, about getting out of planes and getting to the MSI group stage. So we're going to take a look at all the teams overall, and I do want to call back to what I asked you guys at the start of the day. You gave me your predictions about who you thought would be #1, what the game score would be. So let's take a look. This is what the guys thought before the start of the day. Now, Tearwolf, don't watch this. But
Close your eyes, Tearwolf. Don't look at my predictions.
Chaos Latin Gamers would go 0-3, and Rainbow7, both of you guys said, would go undefeated.
Hey, I got the Ascension one right. I will hold on to that one. Okay.
I'm blown away. Actually, was not prepared for what was about to happen today. It's disgusting.
But I mean, I think it was, the thing is that for Lion coming in, I felt like that they had just adapted in that they had strong individual performers and that they had developed a better understanding of how to play League. Yet, coming into the tournament, we haven't really seen that better understanding. We just still have strong individual players, yet they're not finding the same kind of leads that they have done in past international tournaments, and that can just speak to the level of competition that has been coming into the play.
Well, let's take a look at how the standings actually turned out. Ascension Gaming is 0-3, so they can still get out of the group. There can be miracle runs, but then they'll have to do a lot, win every single game and depend on tiebreakers and whatnot. So, Tearwolf, why do you think Ascension Gaming hasn't been able to find those wins yet?
I feel like they have really good team fighting. I feel like they're a really good team and they have good aspects, but I do feel like in some ways they're not expecting a lot of things that are happening. I feel like when you play so long in a region, you expect things from maybe other teams that you've played a long time, and you get here and maybe, I don't know, a jungler, instead of doing a full clear, does one camp, goes bot, like Diamond Proc. So those surprises can happen, and specifically we're playing best of one. So you got to expect those things. And I feel like the teams that prepare for that play with that mindset that anything can happen. We got to be careful. We can push the lane, but what if the jungler is here? You know, you can't base yourself on basic jungle timings, and you can't also study them, because I feel like a month-old VOD isn't enough for what could have changed in a whole period, you know?
That's a great point. I mean, Ascension coming in, we said, well, they're very, very aggressive early on. They didn't really get to play their own game, it seems like. Yes, there was aggression in the early game, but they ended up getting only 2 kills at 15 minutes over 3 games, which was the least out of all teams. And they ended up dying 4.33 times at 15 minutes, which is the most out of all teams. So it feels like their playstyle backfired a little bit, and they might have to recalibrate.
I think a lot of it comes to, and I'm never going to be blaming draft for people specifically. This time I'm just going to hit on the fact that they're not playing to their style. Going up against the Kai'Sa pick, a lot of the times you're going to have a lot of skirmish-heavy, messy games. That's fine as well as you own it. But if you're going up against Kai'Sa, if you're not going to ban it, if you're not going to pick it up yourself, that puts you on a really bad defense. So they're really getting caught out in a lot of these fights. They just come down to micro-intensive points. And so if you lose on that, it feels bad, especially since they had a really good opportunity at the beginning of the day to take a game. They could have taken 2 games, especially off of Gambit. That was a really close one.
That's true. That was closer than it, and it turns out to be. That 0-3 record is maybe not completely true to what exactly happened, but at the end of the day, they didn't get a single win yet, so it's going to be hard for them to get out of the group. The next team I want to talk about is Rainbow7. I think Giral said it in a video before. If you get 2 losses, then you're putting yourself in a very, very difficult position, and that is exactly the position that Rainbow7 is now in. 1 and 2. Everything is still possible, and it feels like the group is pretty wide open, but do we feel like they're going to regain their form? Is Rainbow7 going to be a contender for that top spot, T-Wolf?
You can't count anybody out in best of 1, and I think that there's always the opportunity that any team can go up. I just think that it's hard, because I think the mentality issue is kind of big, because if you lose to us, I think the fans are going to be on you, and I think you have a lot more pressure. And then specifically, I think Lion or Rainbow7 now, they're really good players. They have history, and I think a lot of people expect a lot from them. And I think that sometimes having that pressure on you can make things a lot harder than probably being the underdog or just existing, you know?
Yeah, and that kind of ties in as well, given the fact that White Lotus has not played for the last 4 months. He hasn't had the best practice. He hasn't been in the same sort of environment that he has been while he's playing competitively. And now he's put on to an international stage against a lot of other talented teams that have developed a lot since the last time he played against them. And you've got to consider that all this added pressure is behind him, because, like, well, you haven't been here all split. And, you know, like, now there could be the question of, do you bring in your sub? Do you bring in someone that's been playing with the team for the entire split?
I think that is super, super interesting, because they have Manu here. That is the AD who played actually most of the split. And we got to remember, they did win the split pretty easily in the end, right? They won it all. And maybe they have to go back and say, well, yeah, maybe it's not the time for White Lotus yet. Or is that not a decision that should be made now?
It's just an awkward discussion, because a lot of the champions here, including the Chaos Latin gamers.
There's the thing, though. Actually, on the finals, they played with another AD. They actually had 3 sub ADs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard, because you can't travel with all your subs. So you got to think about what's best for the team. So not having the AD that maybe played the finals, having the AD that played the group phase, and then you have an AD with a big history that's always showed up in international events. That's always been considered one of the best AD carries in wildcard.
What would you do
region.
if you were the coach? What would you do?
Oh, here we go.
White Lotus. I trust White Lotus. I've been on a team with him, and I think he's a beast. He has a great mentality, and he's definitely a player I'd love to have on my team.
Yeah.
All right.
If I was there.
We'll see what they go with. I want to take a look at a couple of more players more specifically and what they did today. Gambit is 3-0. A guy that's been showing up huge is Lodic in the bottom lane. That guy just, okay, Kai'Sa, yes, but also on Jhin, just the last game. He's been playing really, really well for a rookie, only 17 years old, still in university, only been playing for a couple of weeks.
Real confident, that one. And Gambit's confident in his play. The fact that we're starting to see bottom lane focused compositions to not only take down White Lotus, but to buff up the Jhin, I really like what I'm seeing at him.
I'm impressed by the fact that for the entire split, they did not play through him, right? And there were so many questions surrounding why are they replacing Blasting, an individual that has more experience, was 11-1 with the team during the regular season. Yet, I feel like he's proved it now. They trusted in his potential. He needed a little bit more experience. And then when the pressure's on, he was able to perform.
In general, as AD carry, performing really well. T-Wolf, do you think that it's going to come down to who has the strongest AD carries in this group?
I mean, I think not AD carries. I think AD carries right now are really good. I think he's a good example of a really good team fighting AD carry that does a lot of damage. But I do feel like right now, jungles. I feel like if you look at all the wildcard regions and all the teams that are here, or maybe NA, Korea, everywhere, the best jungles have won. You have Peanut, you know, you have me, you have Odie, you have all of them. And I think that jungle right now controls the flow of the game. I think a jungle that can control river, can play the win condition, can pressure the lane it has to pressure, get the advantage, and transfer it, can definitely make the biggest impact.
Let me rephrase. Should the jungle then be going bottom lane all the time?
I think it depends on the win condition and the champs, but I definitely think that a lot of the AD carries right now in this wild card are really talented players and can definitely carry the team if they get the resources they need.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely interesting when they get Kaisa or when they go off. Another guy I want to talk about is the mid laner for Rainbow7, Seiya. We said that even though Rainbow7 hasn't been winning, he is always showing up, so we wanted to give him that time of day. Unfortunately, it sometimes feels a bit like he's 1v5ing.
Sometimes it can feel like that, but to be fair to Seiya, one of the big praises I have for him as a mid laner is his positioning always seems very solid. It's a fact that he's always in a situation where he doesn't take very much damage, yet he's always dishing it out. And having that consistency in a mid laner makes your team fighting that much stronger. Unfortunately, it's just the coordination with the team isn't always there. And if they can find that same synergy that they've had in the past, I feel like that Lion on top of Seiya can really stand out.
Exactly. It just comes down to the setup for the team fights, because a lot of the setup here has been kind of haphazard. But if you can have proper setup to get him rolling, he's had really strong focus to get the damage that you've been mentioning. So I think he's been playing out phenomenally, and I think Light Lotus could actually continue to play well if the setup for those fights work out perfect.
Yeah, it feels like both of them just have to be online for Rainbow7 to do more in this group. The other team, or the other player rather, I want to talk about is Plugo from KLG. Not really someone that we talked about as much as Seiya, for instance, but this guy has been doing really well today. He had a fantastic Anivia performance as well as Vladimir a bit later on. So Tierwolf, how do you feel your mid laner has been performing?
I'm actually happy for him because he's usually my slave. He usually plays utility picks throughout the region, and he's been known as that player. There's actually a mid laner in our region that people consider to be the playmaker, which is Emp, but he's actually been showing that he's wanted to be that player. You know, he's grew a lot from being a rookie, from being a utility player to the player he is now, and then the mentality he has nowadays, just playing for the team and then being able to still carry with whatever pick and being such a versatile player is definitely a great player to have.
And Nivea and Vladimir definitely fit that kind of role, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
He used to pick up that Vel'Koz pick a while back too.
Yeah, he plays everything. He plays Vel'Koz, Karma, Vladimir. You know, I think he's just a really great player. I think his mindset has definitely made him grow so much. And I think that today he could play a utility pick like he could play an assassin.
Great stuff, and great stuff from you guys overall. And Raz wanted to just give another shout out to you, Tierwolf. This is before we knew you were joining us.
We didn't even know you were
so
on
this
here.
Is not planned.
You're going to experience this one, because the best thing about Tierwolf is that it comes down to aggression. Now, going into best of ones, now whoever comes out to Dog Eat Dog World, you have to take out first place. He came in with unrelenting aggression, went up against Adi, and literally still took him down after finding himself 0-2 to start off the game.
This was close.
This was crazy. But like, and the best part about it, after all is said and done, literally stares down the ball of the camera to showcase that he's the better man. Say something, man.
I mean, I just wanted to show that I'm better than Lan. So, I mean, that was my goal. But I want to keep playing well. I want to show what I can do and just win. You know, my meta being here is represent last and just show that wildcard regions have grown and that we can do well.
I think that is the bottom line here. We can try and make them trash talk all we want, and their regional pride is very, very important. But at the end of the day, it'll be who ends up in the #1 spot in Group A, who goes on to that next round. And the same is true for tomorrow. But today's games, they showcase the teams in one of our groups. Tomorrow, we will see the rest. It's going to kick off with Supermassive from the TCL versus Dire Wolves from the OPL. Then Kaboom from CBLOL versus Pentagram from the LJL. And then everyone's going to play everyone on that day, much like today. So today, we thought Rainbow7 was the extreme favorites. It turned out to be a toss-up. What are we thinking tomorrow?
Supermassive, supreme favorites, 3-0, easy group. No, I definitely, I'm never voting for LJL ever again. After last year, when they let me down, they've lost my
I don't know if you've scrimmed any of these teams and what your insights are.
To be truthful, I think it's a really good group. I think people are doing the same thing they did with our group, and they're just giving up on teams. I feel like right now, Wildcard has evolved a lot. I think that we've had the time to grow, to learn, to adapt a lot of things. We've grown in coaching staff. We've grown as organizations. We've grown as players. I just think right now it's just really fought, and I don't know who's going to really win. I feel like Pentagram, a lot of people are throwing them down, and I feel like they've gotten really new good players. I was actually a fan of the jungler they have now, who's a Korean streamer that played solo queue. He's really good. I just think that there's a lot of good players, and you can't really tell. I feel like best of one, all these regions, different play styles, it's really hard to figure out who's going to win.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Tyrell. You just say, well, you know, you can't just count people out in a best-of-1 scenario with regions that have developed so much, and I think you guys are a great example of that. Nobody really thought you would do as well as you did so far, but you showed up, and I think that's how we should go into tomorrow. And I know you guys are going to come up there, put your predictions up, 3-0 Supermassive, and then it's going to be all wrong at the end of the day. So take something.
Look, I love the fun games coming through. I don't even give a damn that I was wrong today. As long as we get really exciting games, this is what makes MSI incredibly fun. So of course I'm going to come out and say that Supermassive, I'm expected to take it from the top of the group, but I also expected Rainbow7. So I do want to see teams end up taking that growth. Immediately I'm going to cast my mind to Pentagram, because I think that they play way too slow of a game in the early game when they get moving, and a lot of the questions are where's the jungle positioning early on. So I want those questions answered personally, and I want to see how they actually perform. And if the practice that they've had since coming and traveling over from Japan, if that works out, then fabulous. I think we all get to enjoy that.
Fabulous, probably. But, yeah.
Oh, wait a second.
I think that honestly, Group B will be a little bit more one-sided based on what I've been hearing from teams that have had the opportunity to play against Supermassive. They just seem to be, they just seem to have a higher level of understanding of the game. In particular, Snowflyer is considered by even many European teams to have a really good understanding of a game, and that 2v2 is considered very strong. So I just kind of automatically put them in the favorites. It's just then who fights for that underlying spot, who can be the one to undertake them, because I think there's a lot of potential competition, a lot of potential spoiler potential from the rest.
That's true, and due to the changes, it's only the #1 team out of Group A and B that goes through, so that, you know, that just makes it incredibly intense. That's going to be it from day one, though. We saw a lot of exciting matches, Wolf. I do want to thank you for joining us on the desk.
Thank you, guys.
And congratulating you on a great run so far. Good luck on Saturday.
I appreciate it.
Well,
we'll do our best.
Yes, fantastic stuff. That's it from us here in Berlin for day one. We will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. CEST for Supermassive versus the Dire Wolves. Until then, have a fantastic night.